It's easy to get frustrated with technology or to blame others for the interruptions of life, but I find it more helpful to look at the life of Christ, the one who was tempted in every way and yet without sin, and ask, was Jesus ever interrupted? Think about that for a minute. There are so many examples that come to mind. The disciples interrupted Jesus from a nap because of a wild storm that had just interrupted their jaunt across the Sea of Galilee. Jesus was tending to an unexpected crowd when Jairus interrupted the gathering, falling at Jesus' feet to plead for the healing of his dying daughter. As Jesus took off with Jairus to tend to the task at hand, a bleeding woman interrupted their journey, drawing on the power of Christ with a single touch, hoping that he would be her healer as well. Interruptions are unavoidable. Notice we have only grazed a couple chapters of the book of Mark, but interruptions are unavoidable. Everywhere Jesus went, crowds followed him. When he crossed the sea, they raced to meet him on the other side. They showed up hurt and hungry. They brought their sons and daughters. They laid before him the sick and diseased. Jesus was continually interrupted. At the death of John the Baptist, Matthew tells us Jesus withdrew to a desolate place to be alone. But when the people learned of it, they followed him, and soon enough there was a crowd. Can you imagine just wanting a little time alone, just a bit of space and solitude, when a whole crowd of people vying for your attention interrupts you? Matthew put words to the actions we see repeatedly in the life of Christ. He had compassion on them and healed their sick. In Matthew 14:14. Jesus did not view interruptions the way we do. People in need were never a distraction from the work. They were the work his Father had sent him to do. His efficiency was never compromised because he did not live by marginal metrics. He lived and loved and walked and worked with the hope of eternity for all of mankind. And because of that, the interruptions of life were never frustrating obligations. They were fertile opportunities. I wonder how many fertile opportunities I have failed to recognize. How many inconveniences could have been invitations. God's grace meets us here as we learn to see the world through his eyes. Paul commends us in Galatians to walk by the Spirit, whose fruit is the love and joy and peace that the world around us desperately needs. John tells us that the very Spirit is our helper, teaching us and helping us to remember the very words and actions of Christ. We are thoroughly equipped for the good work he has called us to do. Let's be people who love with a biblical view of interruptions. Let's ask God to reset our reflexes that we might make the most of each and every opportunity he gives us today and every day.